One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Microphone check, one, two. Microphone check, one, two. Microphone check, one, two, 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 two. What's going on? 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 Black men. Black men, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are enjoying this New Year's Eve. It is December the 31st. December the 31st, 2022. And we are hours away from a brand new year, 2023. We are hours. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, my brothers. Thank you, Rick Scorpio. I see you, man. Thank you, Rick Scorpio. I'm going to give a shout out to my brother, Rick Scorpio. Rick Scorpio is an old school head, man. Old school head, been around for a long time. Thank you, my brother, Rick Scorpio. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Woo! Brother Rick, I missed those videos, man, from Atlanta, man. I'm gonna tell you straight up, man. I missed those. I missed those commentaries, man. I missed those commentaries, brother. But I know you're doing better things these days. You're doing other things these days. But I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you. The Mad Professor is in the house, baby. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Yeah, I see you, Mulatto Vanguard. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. Hawk TV, man. Happy New Year to you, man. Happy New Year's Eve to you, my brother. Happy New Year's Eve to you, man. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? I see all y'all, man. Mulatto Vanguard is in the house. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Man, we are on the cusp of a brand new year. Man, we are on the cusp of a brand new year. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. What's going on, Brother Winston? Good to see you, Brother Winston, man. Happy New Year to you, man. Happy New Year to you, my brother. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to Mark Holt. What's happening, brother? Good to see you, man. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you, man. Hey, if you guys can see Suge Knight, if you guys can see Suge Knight in the caption, man, just put one. Just make sure y'all can see Suge Knight, cause we gotta talk tonight. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are both. We are making. Let's make the last. That's right, my brother. We are making the last of our 40s, man, the best. Absolutely, Rick. Absolutely, Rick. Absolutely, 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 man. It feels good to be 49, Rick. Rick, it feels good to be 49, man. I have no regrets. Let me tell you something, Rick. I have absolutely no regrets about the life that I have led up to this point. I have no regrets about my choices whatsoever, my brother. None, 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 none. I'm having the time of my life, man, and I'm sure that you are having the time of your life too. And I'm sure that the brothers who are listening on this stream, who are in their 40s, who are in their mid 40s, who are in their late 40s, that they're also living their best lives, man. What's going on, Pragmatic Prime, man? What's going on? What's going on? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Pragmatic Prime. Happy New Year to you, my brother. Happy New Year to you, man. What's going on, Barry Little? What's going on? That's right. Barry, my brother, my brother, my brother, my brother. They're talking about us. Oh my God, they talking about us. They talking about the passport, bros. Are you? on Yahoo News, man. They talking about the passport bros, man. They are. I posted the link. I posted the article on my community chat tab. Excuse me. I posted the article on my community tab, man. If you guys have not seen that passport bro article, man, you guys need to go see that, man. For real, for real, for real, man. Look at it. It's on YouTube. I'm sorry. It's on Yahoo News. It is on Yahoo News. It came out yesterday on Passport Bros. Oh man, I got to talk about this thing, man. I got to talk about this thing tonight, man. Oh, and everything. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for putting that out there, man. We have to talk that. Yes, sir. That's absolutely right, Rick. That is absolutely right, man. We have outlived, and here's the thing, man. We don't think that we're better than any black man. We don't think that we are better than any black man, but it is true. It is absolutely true that we have outlived so many. We have defied the odds. Let me tell you, all you young guys who are in your 30s, if you're a young guy who's listening to this broadcast and you're in your late 20s and you're in your 30s or what have you, let me tell you something, guys, keep your nose to the ground. Keep your nose to the ground and keep on living. I need you to keep your nose to the ground. Be meticulous, be very deliberate about your choices, and keep on living, man. Let me tell you something. It gets better. It gets better. The 30s are a very difficult time for men. The 30s, especially black men. If you're a black man, the 30s are very, very. My 30s were a roller coaster, man. My 30s were a roller coaster, man. Let me tell you something, man. When I hit 40, when I turned 40, man, I turned up. I turned up because once I hit 40, I understood that I had defied many of the odds that face black men in American society. So, guys, keep on living. I want to tell you guys to keep on living, 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 man. Keep on living, brothers. Keep on living, man. And I can't echo this enough, man. You millennials, you guys who in your 30s, you're 31, 32, you're 35, you're 36 years old, man. I need you guys to keep on living, okay? Keep on living. It gets better. It gets better. It gets better. Dennis Sperling likes to say that it gets greater later. That's what Dennis Sperling says. He says it gets greater later. And I am living proof. I am living proof that it does get greater later. So don't give up. Keep on living, my guys. Keep on living. Salute to you, my brother. Salute to you. Chukwu, Igweg, salute to you, man. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Salute to you, man. Salute to you. Salute to you. Salute to you, my brother. That's right. That's right, man. We are doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. Hey, man. Hey, Winston, I wish somebody would have told me. I wish somebody would have told me everything that I know, everything that I share with you guys. I'm gonna tell you something. Everything that I know and everything that I share with you guys is based on living, is based on trial and error. I did not have a I did not have a blueprint. I did not have a roadmap. I did not have a guide. I did not have any of those things. All I had was common sense. That's all I had, man. All I had was common sense. All I had was an intuition, and I had some logic, and I had some reason that told me what to do, what not to do, and everything. I've made mistakes, lots of mistakes along the way. I'm not gonna lie, but that's a part of life, man. We make all kind of mistakes on the way, man. We make all kind of mistakes. That's just the way it is, bro. And we black men, we don't have the benefits of roadmaps and blueprints like other men in this society. So we live by trial and error. We gamble. It's about luck. It's about so many things. It's about preparation. It's about discipline. It's about so many things, man. So we keep this thing going, man. We keep this thing going. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Christopher Clipper, what's going on, my brother? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you, my guys. Good to see you. Good to see you, my brothers. I'm happy that you all are here, man. And I want you all to have, I'm going to say this at the outset, man. I want you guys to have a wonderful, wonderful new year, man. This should be a year for Black male independence, Black men's agency, Black men's empowerment, Black men's happiness. This is what this year should be for all of us, man. 2023, we are doing it. It is a brand new year. I hope you guys can see the BMI avatar. I've been having problems with my avatar, so I hope you guys can see me and what have you. But we're not gonna delay, man. We're not gonna delay into this. Y'all see the screen, man. You guys see the screen, and you guys see me right now, man. We're gonna talk. We're gonna take our time. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna try to keep this stream at an hour at the most. I'm gonna try to keep this stream at an hour at the most. If we go over, we just go over. But I'm gonna try to keep the stream at an hour at the most. And I got my little drink here right here. I hope you guys can see me well, man. If you guys can see me well, put 2 in the chat. If you guys can see me well, just put 2 in the chat. If you can't see me too well, I'm gonna have to turn my light on a little bit more so that everybody can see me. But we're gonna talk tonight, man. We are gonna talk tonight, man. Let's just jump into it, man. Forget this. Let's just jump into it. Mr. Andrew Tate. Mr. Andrew Tate. Mr. Masculinity. Mr. Masculinity. Mr. Traditional Masculinity. Traditional Masculinity. The man who has been dubbed by liberals and leftists, by people who don't like him. He has been dubbed Mr. Toxic Masculinity. Mr. Toxic Masculinity. And you guys have seen the news. You've seen everything that's happened over the last 2 days or what have you, and how Mr. Tate, after a very interesting week, y'all, let me give a shout out to Pearly Things. Let me give a shout out to Pearly Things, Miss Pearly Things. You guys, did you guys see? I know a lot of you guys have seen Miss Pearly Things. I know y'all saw her 3-hour live stream that she uploaded on Christmas Day, featuring Andrew Tate, Brittany Renner, and a good number was some other people that are not as famous and not as well known as Andrew Tate and Brittany Renner. I'm gonna give a shout out to Auntie on Miss Pearly Things, man. Auntie be keeping it real, don't she? If y'all see Miss Pearly Things, boy, Auntie be keeping it real over there in the United Kingdom. Over there in the United Kingdom, Auntie be keeping it real on Miss Pearly Things. And I'm gonna tell you, brothers, man, I looked at it. I saw that video last Sunday, almost a week ago, man. I watched the whole thing and I was just sucked in. I was so mesmerized by that video, man. And the next day, on that Monday, man, YouTubers went crazy. YouTube went crazy. Miss Pearly had over 1 million views on that video. It's probably I haven't seen the latest numbers, but that video is probably at 2 million views right about now. It's probably at 2 million views right now. And it was a very, very interesting and provocative. Most importantly, it was a provocative exchange between Mr. Andrew Tate And there were two other ones, apart from Miss Pearly Things and apart from Auntie. There were two other women who were there, two women who have African backgrounds. If I'm not mistaken, one of the women there, she's from Angola. She has roots in Angola. And then there was another woman who has a Nigerian background, who was also on that broadcast. And I took that video and I posted it on my Facebook page, and I'm gonna tell you what I said on my Facebook page. And I was talking to all of my people in the world of academia, all of the intellectuals, and all of the journalists, and especially the elite journalists. I said, and this is what I said. I said that if you do not take seriously this content that we have right here on social media, if you do not take seriously, and it's not just Andrew Tate, but you have Andrew Tate and you had Brittany Renner, two dichotomies. Andrew Tate and Brittany Renner, two dichotomies, two images, two archetypes that represent, here's the thing, two archetypes that represent a major convulsion within Western society, a major convulsion within Western society. On the one hand, you've got Andrew Tate, who represents a traditional expression of masculinity, a very robust, a very rambunctious, a very aggressive, a very raw expression of masculinity. And then you had Brittany Renner, who represents a kind of feminism. Brittany Renner represents a kind of feminism. She represents what they call sex positive feminism. That's what Brittany Renner represents, sex positive feminism. So on one side, you have raw traditional masculinity. On the other side, you have sex positive feminism. That is that women can do whatever they want. They can use their bodies however they want to. My body, my choice, with no consequences, no punishments, no penalties, or what have you. Just radical sexual liberation, radical sexual freedom when it comes down to women. But Andrew Tate is the opposite end. He is the polar end of it, and that is traditional masculinity that has standards, traditional masculinity that embraces rules, traditional masculinity that is risk taking, traditional masculinity that accepts the consequences for its behavior, traditional masculinity that it is pushed to its limits, can lead to very negative things. One of the things that it can lead to is death, and lesser than death, it can lead to jail. And I told my people, I said this to them. I said, if you don't take this seriously, I told this to the intellectual world, and I'm saying this to the intellectual world right now, and to the elite journalist world, all the elite journalists, the people who write for the New York Times, the elite journalists, they write for the New York Times, they write for the Atlantic Monthly, they write for the Huffington Post, they write for the UK-based Guardian, they write for a whole lot of people. They write for Vanity Fair, they write for Elle Magazine, they write for the elite, they write for the creme de la creme. And I said, if you do not take this stuff seriously, you are more irrelevant than I actually thought. You are more irrelevant than I actually thought. And the reason why I say that is because millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people are listening to and following Andrew Tate and Brittany Winner. Millions, 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 all across the globe, all across the globe. And I made this point. The millennials and the Gen Zs, The millennials and the Gen Zs are paying attention to these people. The millennials and the Gen Zs are paying attention to everything that these people are saying and what they are putting out into the world. And because the millennials and the Gen Zs, and I have to stress the Gen Zs because the Gen Zs are the youngest among us right now. The Gen Zs are the youngest among us right now. They are the ones who are going to decide which way they're going to go. The millennials and the Gen Zs, they have to decide, but particularly the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs have to make a decision as to where they are going to go. Do you conform to the viewpoint, the ideology, the masculine ideology that is represented by a Andrew Tate, or do you conform to the sex positive feminist ideology that is represented by Brittany Renner? Where do you go? Where do you go? Where do you go? You got to make a choice. You got to make a choice. What's going on, brothers? What's going on? What's going on? But I want to talk about this situation, guys. I'm not going to spend. I want to jump into it. I want to talk about the situation. So you all already know. The YouTubers are talking about it. Social media is talking about it. NBC News has reported on this. All of the mainstream media outlets, MSNBC has reported on this. Andrew Tate was detained in Romania for sex crimes. Sex crimes. He was detained in Romania. Let me say this: alleged. Let me put this on. I have to be specific. He was detained, taken into custody for alleged sex crimes. They call it human trafficking. Human trafficking. Mr. Tate, and I can only go on what he has said on YouTube, and I have to say this to you guys. I did not become aware of Andrew Tate until perhaps April of this year. This year. This is when I became aware of him in a very profound way. And this was after Kevin Samuels passed away. I became aware of him after Kevin Samuels passed away. I don't know what happened, but something happened with the algorithm, with YouTube. Something happened where his videos, his presence on social media was amplified in some kind of way, right after Kevin's passing. That's how I became aware of him, right after Kevin's passing. And when I first saw his videos, I didn't, I wasn't really drawn into him. I didn't really attach myself to him or whatever. And I saw him talking to masculine stuff and what have you. And I said, okay, this is interesting. This is not a guy that I'm going to, invest in a whole lot. It's just very interesting. Let's see what he does with this or whatever. So that's when I kind of first got a wind of Mr. Andrew Tate. And then his stuff continued to be rotated in the algorithm over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I began to kind of dig. I went to a rabbit hole and kind of did some work on Mr. Tate and everything like that. But that's how I kind of became familiar with Andrew Tate. But I'm not going to go into all the achievements that this guy has accumulated over the course of his short lifetime. He's a 36-year-old guy. He's a millennial. That's very, very important. He's a millennial. He's a very, very millennial. I want you all to. Here's the thing. Andrew Tate is a millennial. And I want y'all to just hold on to that. He's a millennial. He's a millennial. And that's very, very significant. It's very, very significant. And I'm going to I want to try to kind of unpack that before we go too far with this. But anyway, he was arrested on alleged human trafficking. So this guy's a businessman. He's a multi-millionaire and everything in Romania. That's also significant. And I'm going to say this about Andrew Tate. I'm going to say this about him. Andrew Tate is a man who has a lot of balls. Andrew Tate is a man who has a lot of balls. Okay? He has a lot of balls. Meaning that this is a man who has lots of courage. He has lots of courage. Lots of courage. Lots of courage. Yes, that's right, Scorpio. His white followers were surprised. He got a lot of courage. He got a lot of guts, And I understand why he has a lot of guts. He has a lot of guts because he has what we call FU money. He has FU money. He has FU money. He does not live in a traditional Western country. He does not live in the United Kingdom. Here's the thing. He doesn't live in the United Kingdom. He does not live in Australia. He does not live in New Zealand. I want you to note. I'm noting very, very important parts of the West. He doesn't live in the United Kingdom. He doesn't live in New Zealand. He does not live in Australia. These are Western provinces now. He does not live in Canada. Canada is very, very important. He doesn't live in Canada. And he does not live in the United States of America. He does not live in the United States of America. And because he does not live in any of these Western provinces or these Western territories or these Western geographies, it gives him a great deal of protection. A great deal of protection. Okay? He has money. He has FU money based on the businesses, whatever businesses he's been involved in. He made lots of money as a kickboxer and what have you. But his choice of living in Romania, helps him. It helps him. And he tells you why. He tells you why it helps him. He tells you why, because Romania is not considered a part of the West. It simply is not. It's not considered part of the West. It is out in many respects. It is beyond the reach. In some respects, not all respects now. In some respects, it is beyond the reach of Western policing. Western policing. And when I say Western policing, I'm talking about international policing. I'm talking about Interpol. I'm talking about the reach of the United States in terms of the CIA, just in terms of the American government, governments, the government in the United Kingdom, and other Western governments as well. So that's very, very significant. That's very, very significant. Meaning that he is living in a part of the world. He is living in a part of the world where there is not a hostile or a aggressive attack on traditional masculinity. There is not a hostile or an aggressive attack on traditional masculinity. That is that he lives in a part in the world where feminism, in particular feminism cannot flourish. That is the main thing. He is living in a part of the world where feminists can't touch him. Okay? But feminists don't have to be able to touch him in order for him to be touched. I'm going to put it like this. Feminism does not have to touch him in order for him to be touched. So Tate is an archetypical Tate. Andrew Tate is the mythological alpha male. He is the archetypical mythological alpha male, the alpha male who embodies raw masculinity. Raw masculinity. That's what he is. The archetypical mythological alpha male who embodies raw masculinity. What does that mean? He is the alpha male mythologically now, mythologically, in terms of archetypes, who is at the top of the food chain. Tate is he is, in terms of his persona, in terms of his language, his imagery, and what he what is known about him in terms of his wealth and his resources, he is a mythological alpha male. Y'all share, y'all like and subscribe, share, like and subscribe, share, like and subscribe. The Mad Professor is talking tonight. This is New Year's Eve, guys, and we're talking about Andrew Tate, death, jail, and raw masculinity. Andrew Tate, death, jail, and raw masculinity. Andrew Tate. Now, I'm gonna say this. Where's my brother? Where's my brother? I just saw a comment. Art New Style. What's up, brother? I see you, my brother. I want to touch on that. Racial ambiguity. Racial ambiguity, man. Racial ambiguity. That is something that's a component. Art. That is a component of who this person is that we have to really talk about. This is a component of who he is that we got to deal with. This racial ambiguity. And you know what, Art New Style, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I'm going to touch on that, Art, because you see the image, right? Art, you see the image I have right here. Y'all see Suge? Let me go at it. You see Suge Knight? Do y'all see Suge Knight? If you see Suge Knight, guys, put 3 in the chat. If you see Suge Knight in this image, put 3 in the chat. Now, brothers, the alpha male. Here's the alpha male. So we talk about these different archetypes of masculinity in the manosphere. We talk about different archetypes. We talk about the alpha. We talk about the beta. We talked about the sigma. And we talk about the gamma. I'm going to go through it again. There's the alpha. There is the beta. There is the sigma. And then there is the gamma. These are 3 typologies of men: alpha, beta, sigma, gamma. These archetypes are quasi-scientific. Quasi-scientific, meaning that they're based on a critical analysis, they're based on a empirical analysis, but it's an empirical analysis that can be questioned, that can be scrutinized, that can be subject to dispute, okay? These are quasi-scientific typologies or archetypes of males that are derived from anthropology, specifically evolutionary biology. Evolutionary biology is responsible for creating these types of men. And these types are derived from a study of primates. So you go back, you have Homo erectus, you have Homo habilis, you have the other types of men the stages of evolution, stuff like that, and they're connected to primates, okay? But here's the thing. These typologies of men are not to be taken to be conclusive. They're not taken to be conclusive. When I say that they're not taken to be conclusive, that means is that you cannot treat them as a mathematical solution, like 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 3, 4 + 5 = 9. You can't treat them with high levels of certainty. But although you can't treat them with high levels of certainty, they are helpful. They are helpful in thinking about masculinity. They are helpful in thinking about the hierarchy that exists among men across space and time and history. So, according to evolutionary biology, the alpha male is at the top. The alpha male is at the very top of the dominance hierarchy. The dominance hierarchy, the alpha male. He is the one at the very, very top. Okay? We're talking about a dominant male. Okay? Now, here's the thing about alpha males. Is that alpha males are not monolithic. Alpha males, I'm going to say this again, guys. Alpha males are not monolithic. That is, that the alpha male is not just one thing. There is not just one alpha male. There are different expressions of alpha male masculinity, if we're going to use that language. And for this stream tonight, guys, I want you to think about two types of alpha males. I want you to think about two types of alpha males. Number one, the first type of an alpha male, and this is a dominant male. The first type of an alpha male at the top of the hierarchy is a male who exhibits dominance through destruction. A male who exhibits masculine dominance through destruction. This is a type of male who engages in the art of dominance through the control and subjugation of other human beings, the control and subjugation of other men, the control and subjugation of women and children, the control and subjugation of cultures and societies. And this type of alpha male at the very end is very, very destructive in what he does. Very, very destructive. He destroys. He's violent. He's vicious. He's dangerous. That's what this type of male. That's what this type of alpha male is. Okay, and we have lots of history. I'm not going to go into the history. We have lots of history of these types of men, conquerors and what have you. Okay, so that's one type of an alpha male. That is one type at the dominance hierarchy. Then there is a second alpha male. There is a second alpha male. The other alpha male who was at the top of the dominance hierarchy, whose expression of masculinity is not driven by destructiveness, but whose expression of masculinity is ethical. that this is an alpha male who is a builder. This is an alpha male who builds cultures, who builds societies. And some would go so far as to say is that this type of alpha male is responsible for the creation of what we call today civilization. 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 The ethical alpha male is a builder. What the ethical alpha male does is build societies and cultures and institutions that last the test of time. They endure into the future, and their aims and goals are ethical. Ethical. Those are two basic types. Those are two basic types of alpha males. Now, there are other alpha males. There are other alpha males. You have alpha males who are composite of the two. They are the composites. You have alpha males who are composites of destructiveness and morality and ethics. They are composites. I'm not going to go into those types, but I want you to be clear about the two different types of alpha males. Okay? And you decide. You decide what kind of man Andrew Tate is. You decide. You decide. Thank you, Corbett Goldwyn. Thank you, Corbett Goldwyn, for that Cash App. Thank you for the Cash App. Cash App, $ BMI. 3,000 Cash App, $ BMI 3,000. The Mad Professor is in the house. The Mad Professor is in the house. We are talking about Andrew Tate. We are talking about Andrew Tate, death, jail, and raw masculinity. Death, jail, and raw masculinity. That's what we are talking about tonight. Now, I want y'all to look at the image of Suge Knight. I need y'all to pay attention to the image of Suge Knight. And I have that image of Suge Knight in front of you tonight because, my guys, Suge Knight he represents the archetypical, he represents an archetypical mythological alpha male. Suge Knight. Suge Knight. Suge Knight is in prison right now. Suge Knight is in a California prison right now. Suge Knight is serving a 28-year prison term for murder. He is spending 28 years in prison for murder. Suge Knight is what we call a he's a three-time, y'all see it, a three-time felon in the state of California, 3 times. California, the state of California was responsible for creating the law that is popularly known as the 3 strikes law, the 3 strikes. Suge Knight, before his previous incarceration, before his current incarceration, Suge Knight had served. He had previous stints in prison. Suge Knight had at least 2 stints in prison before his current imprisonment. 2 stints in prison before his current imprisonment. And his current imprisonment is in part, and y'all go back, the incident happened around 2014, 2015. Suge Knight got into an altercation with a man who he had known on the set of the filming of the movie, the 2015 movie Straight Outta Compton. He got into a skirmish with someone who he had known, and he killed a man in the process of being in the skirmish with this man, Okay, and he was convicted and found guilty of murder, and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. And that's what Suge Knight is right now. He's in prison. At one time, Suge Knight was the most feared figure in the world of entertainment. At one time, with Death Row Records, Suge Knight was at the top of the food chain in the music industry. Suge Knight. At one time, you remember Death Row. I'm talking about Death Row Records, and I'm talking about the early 1990s. I'm talking about 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996. Dr. Dre, The Dog Pound, DOC, Lady of Rage, all those people, and later Tupac Shakur. He was at the top of the food chain. Hundreds, making hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars as an executive. Death Row Records. Y'all know the story. Y'all know the legendary story. Tupac Shakur was in Clinton. He was in Clinton Correctional Facility. Tupac Shakur was in prison for a sex crime, which he said he did not commit. Tupac Shakur was in prison, and Suge Knight orchestrated Tupac Shakur's release from prison. Tupac Shakur, while he was in prison, signed, and this is a part of the lore, this is a part of the Death Row lore, he signed a contract with Suge Knight on a paper napkin. Let's just pretend this is a paper napkin. Suge Knight went to see him in prison. Tupac Shakur was signed to Interscope Records. Suge Knight had already made an arrangement, or let's just say that he was dealing with Interscope Records. And let's just say that Suge Knight was very, very interested in taking Tupac Shakur from Interscope Records to Death Row. And he signed him while he was in prison. Tupac Shakur gets out of prison, Clinton Correctional Facility, state of New York, goes to California and records the first double album in hip hop history known as All Eyes on Me. The first double album, which came out in 1996. All Eyes on Me, which became an instant success. He had Dr. Dre in the studio. He had Daz in the studio. He had the DOC in the studio. He had a whole bunch of other producers in the studio. He was tied to gangs in California. Suge Knight was the epitome. Suge Knight was the epitome of raw masculinity. All the stuff that Andrew Tate is talking is not new. All the stuff that Andrew Tate is saying is old. It's an old message. It is an old message. Get your stuff together. Get your ish together and become a dominant male. Become a dominant man. That is the message that Andrew Tate communicates to people. You see, the left has it twisted. The left has it twisted. The left and the feminists think that the left and the feminists think that the left and the feminists, thank you, Afro National, the left and the feminists think that the core of Andrew Tate's message is misogyny. They think that at the very core of his message is the dominance and subjugation of women, the control of women, the hatred of women. That's what the left thinks. That's what feminists think. That's how they see them. That's how they see him, rather. And it's understandable. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be honest with you. It is completely understandable. It is completely understandable why feminists and leftists and certain liberals will see him as a misogynist. It's completely understandable. And why do I say it is understandable? I'm going to say why it's understandable, because pornography and pimping, pornography and pimping, I'm going to say it again, pornography, the creation, the making, the production, and the dissemination of pornography, the institution, the activities of pimping. A man sells a woman to other men for sex. All of that is tied to how they understand this thing called the hatred of women, i.e., misogyny, the exploitation, basically the exploitation of women. Listen, guys. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Cyril Rogers. Thank you, my guy. Thank you, my guy. Thank you, my guy. Yes, the comparison, because Andrew Tate is using internet, which makes a more rapid usage of the raw masculinity phenomenon. He is and then what a pooper. Yeah, he is. He is. Listen, guys. The porn business, the business of pornography, if you study pornography, not pornography today. I'm not talking about pornography today. I'm not talking about pornography in 2022 going into 2023. But if you go back and you look at pornography in the 1970s, 1960s, and even go back and you look at pornography in the 1950s, here's the thing. Pornography has a long history. It has a very, very long... Pornography has been around for quite some time, guys. It's been around. But what I'm specifically referring to is pornography. The feminists began attacking pornography. The feminists began attacking pornography in the late 1960s, early 1970s. That's when they started attacking pornography. That's when they went after people like Larry Flint, the founder and editor of Hustler magazine. That's what they went after people like Hugh Hefner. They went after Hugh Hefner during the late 1960s, early 1970s, or what have you. Gloria Steinem, who was almost 100 years old right now. Gloria Steinem, she went after Hugh Hefner. She was a journalist. Gloria Steinem was a journalist, and she looked a certain type of way. Gloria Steinem also worked for the CIA. Gloria Steinem became an employee of one of his Playboy clubs. Hugh Hefner had these Playboy clubs. And she went in as a Playboy bunny to infiltrate Playboy and to report on Playboy and basically talk about what she saw as the exploitation of women. And Hugh Hefner, for the most of his career, to the day that he died, Hugh Hefner had to deal with the stigma of exploitation. Playboy magazine had to deal with the stigma of misogyny and exploitation and what have you. Now, the thing about Hugh Hefner is that Hugh Hefner, he was never charged with any sex crimes. He was never charged with human trafficking. He was never charged with pimping and pandering or what have you. That's what they called it back in the day. And the reason why he was not charged with those things, number one, he was a white male doing it. And number two is that he had a real legitimate business, and the women who worked for him were not coerced. They were not forced into doing anything that they didn't want to do. They were not forced into it. But although the women were not forced into, what's up, Gold Professor? Although the women were not forced into anything, because right now you have women, Hugh Hefner died a couple of years ago, and you have ex-Playboy bunnies who worked for him when they were young women. Now they're talking about their experiences and all that kind of stuff, and saying they were exploited. Now, she's 80 years old, or she's 60 years old, she's 70 years old. You got these white women, mainly white women, who are now saying that they felt slighted by Hugh Hefner or whatever. But he's dead. Hefner is dead. Hefner did not face criminal prosecution. Now, Larry Flint was a different story. Larry Flint, the founder of Hustler magazine. Larry Flint is a completely different story. The feminists went after him. The radical feminists went after him. And the radical feminists were very, very, but here's the thing, it was not just the radical feminists, but it was the Christian right, the religious people, the deeply, 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 deeply conservative religious people in America, the Puritans. They went after Larry Flint. So you had a marriage. So you had, on one hand, you had the radical feminist who says that he was promoting what they now call our culture. I'm not going to put the word out. Our culture, grape culture. That's what they said he was promoting. And then on the other hand, you had the deeply conservative religious right, who said that he was contributing to the decadent morality of society and women and all of this stuff. Thank you, Gold Professor, man. I appreciate you, man. I thank you. I appreciate you, my brother. I rock with you too, man. I appreciate all your support. Y'all share, y'all like, and y'all subscribe. Larry Flint. You guys, you can go on Vudu. You can go on Vudu. If you guys who stream, all you guys who watch stuff on movies, stream movies, go watch the case. There's a movie called America versus Larry Flint, something like that. Woody Harrelson plays in that. The United States versus Larry Flint. I want y'all to look at that movie. It came out in the 90s. It's called The Case Against Larry Flint, something like that. Y'all go check that movie out. Larry Flint. Larry Flint was the founder of Hustler magazine. That dude went through hell and high water. The people, thank you, Broken Blade. Thanks, Gold Professor, man. I appreciate you, man. Much love to you, my brother. Thank you, bro. Thank you, Rashid Barnes. The people versus Larry Flint. The people versus Larry Flint. Y'all can go on Vudu. You can pull it up on Vudu. When I mean Vudu, VUDU. Not just Vudu, but any type of any one of these streaming platforms that give you access to movies. Movies, period. The people versus. Thank you, Rashid, man. The people versus. Y'all go pull up that movie. Y'all watch. It's a good movie, man. Y'all need to watch. That's a good movie, man. That is a good movie. Woody Harrelson. I mean, that was a wonderful movie, man. The people versus Larry Flint. It was about free speech. This movie was about free speech, basically. And the thing about Larry Flint was what we call a free speech avenger. He was a free speech avenger. Okay? A free speech avenger. He had a magazine. Larry Flint came from the bottom of society. If I'm not mistaken, he was born and raised in Kentucky. He was one of these, they call him white trash. He has white trash. Larry Flint had white trash origins. And Larry Flint was trying to do something different from Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner was upscale. Playboy magazine and the Playboy Club. Playboy was about upper class men. Playboy magazine was designed for the upper echelon. Playboy magazine is marked. Everything about Playboy magazine, it was about men who were in the upper middle class, the upper class. It was highbrow. It was very highbrow. It wasn't. He wasn't what they call today, or what they call Flint. They call Flint a smut. They called him a smut peddler. That's what they call Larry Flint, a smut peddler. Okay. Well, Larry Flint went to the Supreme Court. He went to the Supreme Court. He fought against feminists. He fought against them. He fought against Gloria Steinem. He fought against Andrea Dworkin. He fought against the feminists. He fought against the religious right. He went to court and he battled. And there were a lot of people. This is a white man now. This is a white man. They hated him. The feminists hated him. The religious right hated him. It got so bad that somebody tried to kill him. And here's the thing: somebody tried to kill him. Larry Flint. Y'all watch the movie. The movie tells the whole story. Larry Flint got shot. He got shot. Somebody tried to kill him. A zealot, a right-wing religious fanatic, tried to kill him. Messed around, shot the man in his back. He got shot in his spine, and he was paralyzed. He was paralyzed from the waist down. Larry Flint was paralyzed from the waist down because there were people who were offended by his business. And he had the nerve, and he had the money now. He had the money. He made lots of money. That man made He made lots of money with that magazine. He made lots of money. And he was very provocative. He pushed the boundaries. He said things that were very incendiary. He said things, he was off the charts. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And Andrew Tate is not the first. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Andrew Tate is not the first. I want y'all to understand that he ain't the first. But at any rate, Andrew Tate detained, he did the cam girl thing. All that cam girl stuff is just a derivative of pornography. OnlyFans is a derivative of pornography. Instagram is a derivative of pornography. All of this stuff on social media, these women selling their bodies, selling their shapes, getting flown out. All this stuff is a derivative of pornography. That's all it is. It's a derivative. It comes from pornography. They're not doing nothing new. They're just always updating it. But here's the point that I want to make. Here's the point. If you are this type of alpha male, if you are this type of alpha male, you have to understand that there are consequences to this. I talked about Tory Lanez last week. On this stream right here. Tory Lanez. And what I said about when I said about Tory Lanez, I'm gonna say about Andrew Tate. You have to count the cost. You have to count the cost. You have to understand the kind of business that you were in. You have to understand the moves that you make, the choices that you make, and you have to accept the consequences that come with your choices. I want to make it very, very clear. Y'all share this stream. Y'all like and y'all subscribe. I need y'all to share. I need y'all to like and subscribe. Cash App $ BMI 3000. Cash App $ BMI 3000. Cash App $ BMI 3000. That when you engage in a certain kind of alpha male behavior, when you engage in a certain type of alpha male behavior and you espouse a certain alpha male ideology, you have to live with the consequences that come with that. Now, all the people that I talked about, I cited Hugh Hefner, I cited Larry Flint, and you got this man right here on the image. You got Suge Knight. All of these men have to deal with the powers that be. All of these men. They had to deal with the powers that be. You look at Suge Knight. When Suge Knight was at the very, very height of his powers, I want y'all to get this. When Suge Knight was at the height of his powers in the 1990s, Congress people, there were congressional meetings. Listen now. There were congressional meetings on gangster rap. There were congressional hearings, not just meetings. Let me correct it. There were congressional hearings on gangster rap when Suge Knight was at the height of his powers. You had Congress people, you had U.S. senators. Congress people and U.S. senators who had a lot to say about people like Suge Knight. And they were saying that Suge Knight was contributing to the decay and the decadence of American society through his business of gangster rap. Bob Dole, Senator Bob Dole, Pat Buchanan. You don't know, you guys don't know these names. The Secretary, Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Education, his name was Pat Buchanan. I'm sorry, not Pat Buchanan. Pat Buchanan was the speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. Pat Buchanan wrote speeches for Ronald Reagan. He was a Reaganite. But you had the Secretary of Education, a former Secretary of Education, his name was William Bennett, known as Bill Bennett. You had powerful white men who were saying that people like Suge Knight were dangers to American society. And the music that they were making was dangerous to American society. In addition to that, you had women, you had Black American women who were from the same generation as Pat Buchanan and Bob Dole, who were very, very vocal about gangster rap. Art New Style, that's the person. C. Dolores Tucker. Y'all Google C. Dolores Tucker. C. Dolores Tucker. A Black woman, an African American woman. She was a part of the Black American establishment at that particular time. I remember I was a young man growing up and I saw this. I was in my 20s. I was in my mid-20s watching all this stuff. Early 20s, mid-20s watching all this stuff. C. Dolores Tucker hated rap music. Specifically, she hated gangster rap. Do you know why they hated gangster rap? Do you know why they hated gangster rap? They hated gangster rap because these gangster raps were talking about money, women, and power. The gangster rappers were talking about money, women, and power. Snoop Dogg was talking about money, women. Don't forget Doggy Style, the album Doggy Style. Doggy Style came out. Doggy Style came out in 1993. I remember when Doggy Style came out. All you old heads in the house, all you Gen Xers who are listening to me now, if you remember when Doggy Style came out, put 4 in the chat. All you Gen Xers, all you guys who remember when Doggy Style came out, y'all put 4 in the chat. Put 4 in the chat if you remember when Doggy Style came out. Y'all share, y'all like, and subscribe. If you remember when Doggy Style came out, y'all like, y'all share, and y'all subscribe. Before Doggy Style came out, you had The Chronic that came out. That's this classic hip hop album, The Chronic, Dr. Dre. They hate the gangster rap. Some people, Willie D of the Ghetto Boys calls it, Willie D of the Ghetto Boys calls it reality rap. If you talk to Willie D of the Ghetto Boys, he doesn't call it gangster rap. Willie D calls it reality rap. That's what Willie D calls it. What did they talk about? They talked about money. They talked about women. They talked about power. Gangster rap, they were talking about basically male dominance. Gangster rap, but yeah, it was about male dominance. It was gangster rap was an alpha male ideology. That's what gangster rap was. Gangster rap was an alpha male ideology. Gangster rap was Pookie. Gangster rap was Pookie asserting himself. That was gangster rap. Pookie. You listen to Tupac. Tupac was talking about dominance. Tupac said, I'd rather be a dead nigga. That's what he said. Tupac said, I'd rather be a dead nigga than a broke nigga. That's what Tupac said. Tupac said, I'd rather be a dead nigga than a broke nigga. That was Tupac Shakur. You listen to Bury Me a G. You go back, you listen to the Thug Life album. The Thug Life album that Tupac recorded. You listen to that song, Bury Me a G. Bury me a G. I'd rather be a dead nigga than a broke nigga. That was alpha male ideology. I was right there. And it was apropos that the record label that Suge Knight had, the record label that Suge Knight had was called Death Row Records. It was called Death Row Records. It was apropos. It was called Death Row Records. Meaning that if the acquisition of money and power and dominance over women meant going to death row, so be it. So be it. I'm going to say it again. Death Row Records. What did Death Row Records represent? Masculine dominance. Death Row Records represented the destructive alpha male. That's what Death Row Records was. I told you there are two types of alpha males. There are destructive alpha males. There are ethical alpha males. Destructive alpha males, number one. And number two, you have ethical alpha males. Death Row Records represented the destructive alpha male. You have to count the cost. Suge Knight is in prison right now. He is in jail. 28 years. Suge Knight is in his, he's looking at 60 right now. He's looking at 60. Suge Knight is not going to get out of prison anytime soon, if he doesn't die in prison. So Suge Knight is in a situation right now is that he might possibly die in prison. He might die in prison. But the point that I want to make to you guys is that Suge Knight made a choice. Suge Knight made a choice. And I'm going to say this, Andre Tate has made a choice. Andre Tate has made a choice. Now, there are real differences between Andre Tate and Suge Knight. Suge Knight is an unambiguous black man. Shout out to Art New Style. Shout out to my guy, Art New Style. Suge Knight is an unambiguous black man. Y'all see that picture? There is no, you see this picture right here? You look at the tattoos on his neck. Look at the tattoos. Look at the face right here. You know that he's a black man. Suge Knight, he embraced a lifestyle. He embraced an expression of masculinity, alpha masculinity, that invites death in jail. It invites it. It invites it. Death in jail knocks at its door. That's the masculinity that Suge Knight represents. And now he is living out the consequences of this type of masculinity. Now I don't have to talk about all the stories and all the cases and all the details and everything that led up to his incarceration. You can look it up yourself. You saw Straight Outta Compton. You guys saw the movie and how he was portrayed in Straight Outta Compton. And that was one of the reasons why he went to jail. That's one of the reasons why he is in prison right now, because he was mad. Suge Knight was mad at how he was being represented in the movie Straight Outta Compton. He was mad. He felt that he was being misrepresented. He believed that the writers of Straight Outta Compton and the producers did not consult him on his imagery and what he represented in that film. And in the process, he got into an altercation with a man who was an ex-gang member, or he was once affiliated with a gang, on the set of Straight Outta Compton, and the conflict and the confrontation led to this man being killed by Suge Knight. Thank you, Barry Little. Thank you for that support, my brother. Cash App, $ BMI 3000. Thank you for the Cash Apps, brothers. Thank you all for the Cash Apps. Cash App, $ BMI 3000. Cash App, $ 3000. Cash App, $ 3000. Cash App. We're talking about death, jail, and raw masculinity. Raw. This is raw masculinity, guys. There is a cost, brothers. There is a cost. There is a price that is paid for this kind of masculinity. Andrew Tate has said repeatedly, that he knows what he's doing. Andrew Tate has said repeatedly that he understands the consequences of what he's doing. Andrew Tate knows that one of the consequences of what he is doing is jail time. He knows that. Andrew Tate knows that the other consequence of what he's doing is death. It's death. And the reason why it is death is because he is flirting with it. You are flirting with death. These men are flirting with death. Raw masculinity. And y'all see Suge Knight. He had to count the cost. You have to count the cost. And you have to accept the consequences that come with it. You can't be like Andrew Tate. Thank you, ghetto user. Y'all share, y'all like, y'all subscribe. Cash App, $BMI 3000. Cash App, $3000. Cash App, $3000. You can't be on the internet and throw stones. Here's the deal, guys. You can't be on the internet and throw stones at governments. You cannot be on the internet with his level of notoriety and his level of influence, his level of fame. You cannot be on the internet and throw stones at climate change. You cannot be on the internet with that level of influence and throw stones at LGBTQ or LGBTQ plus. You cannot be on the internet and throw stones at feminism the way he does. This man was on Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan is a British journalist in the UK. This man was on Piers Morgan and he actually said this, that if Western women are really, really concerned about the lives of women in the Islamic world, particularly women who are in Afghanistan, that these women need to go to Afghanistan. They need to go to those parts of the Middle East where they think that women's rights do not exist. They need to go there and they need to engage in a war. They need to engage in a war with those men who control those societies. He basically said that Western feminism is a farce apart from this codependence on male authority, that it cannot function, it cannot flourish independent of male authority, male directives, etc., etc. And I'm gonna tell you straight up, he wasn't wrong. What he said about feminism in Afghanistan was not wrong. He was not wrong. But he said it in a way. He said it in a way that was very, very dismissive, and that was very, very vitriolic towards feminism in the West. He said it in a way that trivialized feminism in the West. He said it in a way that some people see as supportive of the Taliban, that some people see as supportive of Islamic ideology when it comes down to women in those parts of the world. And he has millions and 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 millions of people who are watching him. Now, it was one thing for a little old YouTuber like me to break this thing down. And I've done it. Over a year ago, when the Taliban pushed the American military out of Afghanistan, specifically Kabul, I did a two on the anniversary of 9/11 last year, 2021. I did a 2-hour stream with Green Gorilla where we talked about the geopolitics of 9/11 and the American withdrawal from Afghanistan. But the way in which we approached it was very, very different from the way in which Andrew Tate dealt with it. So essentially, Andrew Tate was poking the bear. Poking the bear. And this week, he took poking the bear to its extreme. He took poking the bear to its extreme. And what did he do? He got into it. He got into a tirade with a 19-year-old climate change activist, Greta Thunberg, a 19-year-old climate activist, a young woman who has millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of followers on Twitter. A 19-year-old who is a darn near global celebrity when it comes down to climate change. He got into a Twitter tirade with this person. He taunted her, he laughed at her, he mocked at her, he trivialized her. Brothers, thank you, Gotta User. Support the stars. Cash App, $BMI 3000. Cash App, $BMI 3000. Climate change. Let me tell you something. There are white people all over the world. We're talking about race. Art New Style, where you at, man? Art New Style. We're talking about race now. There are white people who are all over the world, the Western world in particular, who are zealots. They are zealots when it comes down to climate change. They are zealots. There are white people who are all over the world who are willing to die over climate change. Global warming. Global warming. The global warming people say, we're in the United States. If you're listening in the United States, I live on the East Coast of the United States. I'm in North Carolina. There are climate change people, global warming people, who are saying that in the next 30 years, that there are parts of the United States that are going to be underwater. Here's the thing. The climate change people are saying that there are parts of the United States in the next 30 years that are going to be underwater. Okay? The climate change people are saying that Miami, in 30 years, Miami is going to be underwater. That is that the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, because of climate change, is going to overwhelm. It's going to overwhelm parts of Florida. It's going to overwhelm parts of the Gulf Coast and make those parts of the United States uninhabitable. Uninhabitable. They're going to be underwater. And they have a lot of scientific evidence behind it. A lot of scientific evidence suggests that, yes, they're going to be underwater. And part of the reason why they're going to be underwater is because we have done a lot to destroy the environment. We've done a lot. Environmentalism. This goes way back to Al Gore. Al Gore is the father of climate change. I don't know if y'all know this, but Al Gore, who was the vice president of, what's going on, Abuki? What's going on, my brother? Good to see you, man. Good to see you here, man. Good to see you, my brother. Al Gore, vice president, he was under Bill Clinton. Al Gore, he's basically the father of climate change, activism. Al Gore. He's the father of it. He created it. He is the father of basically environmentalism. He tried to run against George Bush in 2000. And climate change was a part of his program. Environmentalism was a big part of his program, and he and George Bush were at a deadlock in 2000. The Supreme Court had to decide the election of 2000 between Al Gore and George Bush, and y'all know who the winner was. It was George W. Bush. The climate change people are not, all of them, they're not wrong in everything they say. Some of the stuff is very, very extreme. But here's the thing, you got these climate change people, they really believe in this stuff. They're hardcore about it. At the highest levels of American society. When you talk about recycling and all, recycling is, yeah, they take recycling seriously. I recycle. I throw away all my plastics. I'm not a climate change. Let's look here, guys. I'm not a climate change activist, but I recycle. I drink lots of water. What's going on, Dr. Thunder? What's going on? Good to see you, man. Passport Bros, we up. You're absolutely right. I drink lots of water, bottled water. You know what I do? I have a bin. I have a specific place where I dispose of all of my bottles. I have a specific place where I get rid of all my bottles, and where I live, I have a specific place where I put my bottles to be recycled. I do that. But I'm not a climate change person. I'm not an environmentalist, but I do that. I recycle. I recycle. I recycle. Good, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for the support. Y'all share, y'all like, y'all subscribe. Y'all share, y'all like, and subscribe. But here's the point. Here's the point that we're making right here. You can't poke the bear. You cannot poke the bear. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that much of what Andrew Tate says is healthy for Western society. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with everything he said. I do not agree with everything that Andrew Tate says, but I think that he's good for a good, healthy debate in terms of the future of the West. Him not by himself, there are other people who are good, but I think that he's helpful. But when you start criticizing, and it's not just climate change, he criticized COVID and COVID protocols all over the world. He criticized COVID protocols all over the world. Basically criticizing the matrix. When you directly confront the matrix the way in which he does, you have to count the cost. You got to count the cost. And you have to be willing to pay the price of what comes with that. You got to pay the cost to be the boss. You got to pay the cost to be the boss. That's what I'm saying. You got to pay the cost to be the boss. You can talk about climate change. You can talk about LGBTQ. You can talk about feminism. You can talk about the problems of liberalism, the problems of the left. You can talk about all these things. Hell, you can talk about the problems of the right. You can talk about the problems of right-wing governments all over the world. When you directly confront governments and government issues that pertain to policies in the future of the world in the way in which he does, wars, you start talking about Ukraine, and you start talking about how Western nations responded to Ukraine, and you criticize them, and you have the ear of the young, and you have millions and 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 millions upon millions of people listening, you got to count the cost for that. And one of the outcomes, thank you, Abuki, man. It's a pleasure to have you here, my brother. Thank you, my sir. Thank you, my guy. Suge Knight. That's one of the consequences. Suge Knight. You see, we think a lot of men think this is a game. This is not a game. A lot of men think that this is a game. Brothers, this is not a game. Thank you, Willa 3R. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the support. I heard climate change is really more about sun exposure. Males don't have melanin. You're absolutely right. They do not have melanin. They don't have melanin. Also, isn't recycling a scam? Let's see. That's questionable. We send that stuff to China, and China said no to our plastic. Good point. That's a very, very good point. That's a very, very good point, my brother. That's a very, very good point. It's a very, very good point. But the point I'm making is that there are zealots. There are fanatics. The climate change people out here, they're fanatical. When y'all get a chance, when y'all on YouTube, I want you all to YouTube, just do a search of climate change activism, and you see where the rabbit hole takes you. These people are fanatical. They are fanatics. The environmental people, a lot of these people, they're fanatics about this stuff. and they are at the highest echelons of society. They are positioned in the highest echelons of society. All these people. But it's raw masculinity. And here's the deal. I'm not here to scare y'all. I'm not here to scare y'all. I don't want y'all to be scared. I don't want y'all to be scared. I'm not here to scare y'all. The message that I want to communicate to you guys tonight is that if we're going to be a certain type of masculine man, if you're going to be a certain type of masculine man that society right now, at this moment in time, resists, if you're going to be a certain type of masculine man that society is hostile to right now, you have to be prepared to deal with what comes with that. Be prepared to deal with it. Now, if I were an advisor of Andrew Tate, if I was his advisor, if I was his mentor, I would say, Tate, leave that stuff alone. Don't go on Twitter. Don't be messing around with no 19-year-old climate change activist. Now, I know that gets him more attention. Here's the thing. As a business person, I can understand he's a business guy. He wants to elevate his profile and all that kind of stuff. He's a risk taker. He's a venture capitalist. He wants to bring more attention to him and his businesses, his brand, his persona. I understand that. But there's also a cost that comes with that. There's a cost. There's a price that comes with that. When you engage in a certain level of extremism. And based on what he has said publicly about his own presence on the internet, he has already accepted it. He says, yes, they're going to come at me, they're going to go after my money, they're going to go after my reputation, and then they're going to go after my freedom. That's what he said. They're going to go after my money, they're going to go after my reputation, and they're going to go after my freedom. That's what he said. So basically, this is a man who has already counted the cost. And I give him kudos for counting the cost in dealing with whatever comes his way. I give him kudos for that. But not every man is built like that. I understand not every man is built like that. And not every man has to pursue that path. Not every man. There's more than one way to be effective at communicating male or masculine empowerment. There's more than one way to do that. And he is right. There is an attack. I'm going to say this. There is a real attack on masculinity. That's one thing he is right about it. There is a real attack on masculinity in the Western world. There's an attack. In the Western world does not like raw masculinity. Not like this. It doesn't like it. It hates it. It hates this type of raw masculinity. But although it hates raw masculinity, this is a kind of raw masculinity. Although it hates raw masculinity, Western societies have been unsuccessful. They have been unsuccessful in eliminating this type of raw masculinity. What does that mean? That means is that if Andrew Tate goes away, tomorrow, if he goes away next week, if he goes away next month, if he goes away next year, let's say he finds himself in a position like Suge Knight, if he goes away, that in of itself will not eliminate the facts of raw masculinity, because raw masculinity will find an expression in somebody else or in some other group or population, particularly within the world of the West. What Andrew Tate represents is something that has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's been around for thousands of years. And the crisis of what these people have right now is that they don't know how to completely extinguish it. That's the problem. They don't know how to extinguish it, meaning they don't know how to get rid of it indefinitely. They want to get rid of it. They want to extinguish it permanently, but they don't know how to do that. This is evolution. This is evolution. You can create an artificial society. Here's the thing. You can create an artificial society. You can create an artificial society that seeks to repress certain masculine impulses and drives. But in the end, this artificial society will be relatively successful in harnessing these masculine impulses. It will be relatively successful. All the liberalism and feminism in the world is not going to extinguish the kind of raw masculinity that you see in these people, an Andrew Tate or a Suge Knight. The most that they can do is put them in jail. Let me say this again. The most that they can do is put them in jail or have them murdered or assassinated. That's the most they can do. Put them in jail or have them murdered or assassinated. That's the most they can do. And even if they have them murdered or assassinated, it would not stop it, because somebody else is going to emerge or pop up with the same expression of raw masculinity. This is just the way it is. Nah, thank you, Willie. Raw masculinity can make a comeback. Russia and China fighting you. That's it. That's why the West. That's what I'm saying. That's why the Western society. That's why Western nations can't ignore it. Look at Russia and China, and I would add North Korea. A Western population declines prove it is more. Yes, and Russia and China are sitting. They're waiting in the wings. They are waiting in the wings to see who's going to take over the world. Who's going to run? Who's going to eclipse all of these Western nations? The United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. That's what they're doing. And these Western politicians think that this stuff is a joke. It ain't no joke. They think it's a joke. Raw masculinity, raw ma- raw masculinity is here to stay. You can repress it in certain kind of ways. You can repress it. You can attempt to subjugate it. You can put it in jail. You can create all kind of laws. You can create all kind of laws to attempt to put it in check and all that kind of stuff. You can even kill it in the certain expressions, but it's not going to completely eliminate it. The reason why it's not going to completely eliminate it because it's biological, it's evolutionary. It's about evolution, biology. You can't completely eliminate biology. You can't. They want every male to be soft. They want every male to be soft. They want every male to be feminized. But biology is not going to allow that to happen. The feminized male, let me say this, guys. The feminized male is an anomaly. The feminized male, and I want to say this, the feminized male, I know lots of feminized males. I know gay men. I know gay men who are feminized. I know straight men who are feminized. I know straight men who are feminized. I know gay men who are feminized. The feminized male, and we should not be hostile to the feminized male because that's just who he is. I want to say this to you guys. We should not be hostile to the feminized male. We should not be hostile to the gay male. The gay male, the homosexual, he is particularly the homosexual who is feminized, the homosexual in particular who is highly feminized. Just leave them alone. They are who they are. They are anomalies. The homosexual, the gay male, the same gender loving male, he is an anomaly. He has always been an anomaly. He will always be an anomaly. The transgenders, they are anomalies. They are not the rule. They are always exceptions to the rule. You've always had these type of people in societies. If you study Hindu societies, especially India, transgenderism has been in India for thousands of years. I don't know if you all know that. Transgenderism. What people talk about transgenderism today, transgenderism has existed in India for thousands of years. They've always been around. They just were never celebrated. They were never celebrated. They were never treated as some type of something that's to aspire to. Now they were discriminated against. That's the thing. They were discriminated against. There was prejudice towards them. And I don't think that we should be prejudiced towards them. I think they should be treated like human beings with dignity and respect. But here's the thing. They are exceptions. They are not the rule. They are anomalies. You cannot take an anomaly, you cannot take an exception and turn the exception into a rule. It's scientifically impossible. It's culturally, it's sociologically impossible. Anyway, I've been here close to 2 hours. I've been here close to 2 hours. I want to end this stream. I don't want to go too far, but here's the deal. So here's the last thing. Passport bros. Where you at, passport bros? Where my passport bros at? Passport bros. Where are all my passport bros? All my passport bros. This is why passport bros are seeking. This is why the passport bros are seeking different pastures. This is why passport bros are going to Colombia. That's why they're going to the Dominican Republic. This is why passport bros are going to Thailand. This is why a passport bro like myself is going to the continent of Africa. Let me say it again. This is why a passport bro myself is going to the continent of Africa. Because in the Western world, there is no real respect for raw masculinity. It just isn't. It just isn't. This is why men are going to Brazil. This is why men are going to Eastern Europe. Because in the West, there is not a respect for raw masculinity. The stuff that is happening between Ukraine, what's happening between Ukraine and Russia right now boils down to raw masculinity. Vladimir Putin is a negative expression. Vladimir Putin is a negative expression of raw masculinity. Vladimir Putin represents the first type of alpha male that I described early on in this stream. Putin. China right now, China is driven by raw masculinity. China is driven by raw masculinity. North Korea is driven by raw masculinity. Raw masculinity can be negative. Raw masculinity can be positive. Mentor OG says the Philippines. You're absolutely right. The Philippines. Raw masculinity can be negative. Raw masculinity can be positive. And I say to you, my brothers, pick your poison. Pick the masculinity. Pick the raw masculinity that you're going to pursue. Negative or positive. You can be a destructive male driven by raw alpha masculinity, or you can be an ethical male driven by raw masculinity. Raw masculinity. Suge Knight would not be in jail. Suge Knight would not be in jail had he taken a different route. He would not be in jail. But let me get back to Passport Bros. Passport Bros are moving the needle. Passport Bros, I want to end with this. I'm going to go. Passport Bros were on Yahoo News. Passport Bros is mainstream now. Passport Bros, it was an article on, I saw this on Instagram. If you don't know, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Ronald B. Neal on Instagram. Ronald B. Neal. I got to do is look for Ronald B. Neal. I'm on Instagram. I was on Instagram yesterday, and I subscribe to Travel Noir. There's a travel site on Instagram called Travel Noir, and they put up a post. They put up a post on Travel Noir of a woman who was ranting and raving against a black woman who was ranting and raving against Passport Bros. It's a black woman. She was ranting and raving against Passport Bros. Some of y'all may have seen the video. And talking about how Passport Bros are weak and Passport Bros are dusty and Passport Bros are lame and Passport Bros can't measure up and Passport Bros, are losers and all that. That's the whole shaming thing that they do. taking advantage of women, you're exploiting them, blah, 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 the whole shebang. And there was a comment on Travel Noir on Instagram. There were over, when I saw it yesterday, it was over 1,000 comments, or probably more now. There were like 1,500 comments. There were under 1,500 comments on the post pertaining to Passport Bros. I don't know who runs Travel Noir, but the person who runs Travel Noir, they understood that they needed to say something about Passport Bros. And the person who posts Travel Noir, he was trying. I give the person credit. He was objective. He didn't trash. This person did not trash Passport Bros. He was being neutral, or she, but I suspect it was a he. The person who runs Travel Noir was being objective or trying to be neutral and just put the facts out there. And basically in the post said there's a movement called Passport Bros of black men who are traveling and they are looking for happiness and they're looking for greener pastures. And the vast majority of the people who responded to his post were women. And most of them were angry and they were disgruntled. And there were some people who posted under the Travel Noir post who said, "Why are you doing this? This is divisive. Why are you doing this? I'm going to unsubscribe." There were people on that Travel Noir Instagram post who were saying that they were going to unsubscribe from this person's Instagram post. And they were telling the Instagram person, Travel Noir, to remove the post from Instagram. Y'all go back and look at it. They told him to remove the post. Get rid of this. Take it away from Instagram. At any event, Travel Noir wrote an entire article. They wrote an entire article, which was posted on Yahoo News. It came up on Yahoo News about the Passport Bros and what Passport Bros are doing, which basically says to all of us here that Passport Bros are winning and that the passport message is out there. And that the young men are absorbing this message because we refuse to be children. We refuse to surrender to the toxicity that is Western culture. That we're not going to live comfortably with these constant day-to-day attacks on masculinity in the West. And we will go to other places, other territories, other lands where there is no attack on masculinity, where men are valued, where your presence is valued, your resources are valued, where you can have valuable experiences, cultural experiences learning languages, experiences learning new geographies, experiences just expanding your entire horizon when it comes down to the world. Knowing that the United States of America is not the beginning and it is not the end of the world. And I love it. And I keep on saying it over and over again. I love the backlash against Passport Bros. Well, guys, it's been 2 hours. I'm not going to go any longer, but I want to talk about Andrew Tate, death, jail, and raw masculinity and what it means. And I wanted to put all this stuff into a context, into a framework for thinking about where we are in the world today. Art New Style said early on, Andrew Tate he doesn't look like Suge Knight. If Andrew Tate looked like Suge Knight, he probably wouldn't be in the position that he is. Probably, it's possibly. I don't know. But in any event, they swim in the same pond. Andrew Tate and Suge Knight swim in the same pond or same pool. Or even further, they swim in the same ocean. I'll put it like that. But we need to be smart in how we move in the world. Black men need to be smart in how black men move. Choose what kind of man you're going to be. Choose. Anyway, guys, this is another Black Male Independence. This is another Black Men's Agency. This is another Black Men's Empowerment. This is another Black Men's Happiness presentation. Share, like, and subscribe, my brothers. Happy New Year. Enjoy your New Year's Eve. Celebrate, have fun, my brothers. Celebrate and have fun on this New Year's Eve, man. I want you guys to make 2023 the best year of your lives, man. The best is yet to come for all of us. This is a wonderful time. This is a wonderful moment. Guys, maximize everything. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Peace and blessings to all you guys. I am the mad. I am the mad professor. I'm